Hello everyone and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. Luna stood frozen in the quiet of the hospital corridor, the fluorescent lights above casting a sterile glow over the pristine envelope she held in her trembling hands, an envelope she'd been dreading to open ever since it arrived in the mail with the words, "Confidential DNA results," typed in bold black across the front. Her breath caught in her throat as she peeled the flap open, heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. She had taken the test on a hunch, a whisper of doubt that had crept in ever since HAYES'S last checkup, when the pediatrician noted a blood type that didn't quite make sense. Luna had brushed it off at first, blaming it on stress or a clerical error, but something deep inside her refused to be silenced. Now, here she was, paper in hand, staring at the impossible, probability of paternity, 0%. The words blurred as tears welled in her eyes. Finn was not HAYES'S father. Everything she had built, the life she had fought for, the family she believed in, was unraveling before her in an instant. Her knees buckled, and she grabbed the wall for support, the paper fluttering to the floor like a fallen feather. How could this be? How could the man who held her hand during labor, who rocked HAYES to sleep every night, who whispered promises to him about always being there, not be his father? She replayed the events in her mind with surgical precision, dissecting every memory, every timeline. There was only one explanation, one night, one mistake, one moment she had buried so deeply beneath guilt and denial it now came roaring back like a tsunami. It had been the night before she and Finn officially got back together. She had been vulnerable, confused, emotionally exhausted, and in a moment of weakness, she'd sought comfort in someone else's arms, someone she never thought would matter again. She remembered the tears, the wine, the slow-burning regret. But she never imagined that single lapse would come to define the rest of her life. The face that flashed before her eyes now wasn't Finn's. It was someone else's, someone who had no idea he had a son. Luna clutched the envelope tightly and let out a guttural sob, one that seemed to echo down the hallway, vibrating with grief, betrayal, and a shattering of illusions. And now, how would she tell Finn? How would she tell HAYES? And what would she do with the truth that now throbbed like a wound in her palm? Back at home, Finn was playing airplane with HAYES, lifting him high above his head, both of them laughing with unfiltered joy. Luna stood in the doorway, her heart twisting. He looked so much like Finn in spirit, even if not in blood. The man HAYES called Daddy didn't deserve this. He had given everything. Sacrificed everything. She felt like a traitor just watching them. Her footsteps felt heavy as she walked into the room, the envelope now tucked behind her back. "Finn, we need to talk," she said quietly. His smile faded, the color draining from his face. "What is it?" he asked, setting HAYES down gently. "Are you okay?" Luna struggled to speak, her voice caught between sorrow and steel. "It's about HAYES. I got a DNA test." Finn's face crumpled in confusion. "Why? Why would you do that?" She swallowed hard. "Because, something didn't feel right. I just needed to be sure. And now I am." She pulled the paper out slowly, as if it were a loaded weapon. "You're not his biological father, Finn." The silence that followed was devastating. Finn's breath caught, and for a moment, he looked like someone who had been shot, staggering back a step, his eyes clouded with disbelief and anguish. Finn didn't speak at first. He walked to the kitchen, gripping the counter like it was the only thing keeping him upright. Luna followed, tears streaking her face. "It was one night, Finn. Before you and I were really back together. I didn't think it mattered. I didn't think it would mean anything, but it did," Finn snapped, spinning around. "It means everything, Luna." His voice cracked under the weight of the revelation. "I've been raising a child I thought was mine. Loving him like he was mine. And now you're telling me, what? That I've been living a lie?" Luna sobbed. "No. Not a lie. Never a lie. You are his father in every way that matters, except the one that does," he shouted. "Do you even know who the father is?" That stopped Luna cold. She hadn't let her mind go that far. But she knew. Of course she did. She just hadn't wanted to admit it. Yes, she whispered. I do. Finn stared at her, waiting. Who? The name escaped her lips like poison. Julian. Julian. The name landed like a bomb between them. Finn turned away, disgusted. Julian, he repeated, nearly choking on it. Julian, the man you said was out of your life forever? The man you swore meant nothing? Luna nodded helplessly. It was one night, Finn. I was a mess. I didn't plan it. It just happened. He shook his head, his entire body vibrating with fury and heartbreak. I need to go, he said, grabbing his jacket. Finn, please, don't walk away. We need to figure this out. Hayes needs you. He paused at the door, not turning around. Yeah, well maybe he needs his real father now. And then he was gone. Luna stood in the wreckage of their living room, the DNA results still on the table, mocking her with their cold, clinical certainty. Her world had shattered, and yet the day had only just begun. The fallout was swift and brutal. Finn moved out the next day, taking only the essentials. He couldn't look at Luna, couldn't even bear to see Hayes, which broke Luna more than anything. She tried to reach him, to explain, to apologize, to beg, but he kept his distance. Meanwhile, Luna was left alone with the weight of truth, now faced with the decision she never thought she'd have to make. Should she tell Julian? Should she bring him into Hayes's life? Part of her screamed no. Julian was chaos, a storm in human form, and she had worked so hard to keep her son's world stable. But the other part, the one that could no longer pretend, knew the truth had a right to exist. Julian had a right to know he had a child. And Hayes deserved the truth, no matter how ugly it was. It took her days to track Julian down, and when she finally did, it was in the most unlikely place, a bar on the edge of town, dark, smoky, and full of ghosts. Julian was exactly as she remembered, rough around the edges, with eyes that had seen too much and cared too little. But when Luna told him, when she showed him the DNA results and said the words he never expected to hear, "You're Hayes's biological father," everything changed. Julian sat there, stunned, silent. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked eventually. "Because I didn't know," Luna admitted. "Until now. I thought, you thought it was Finn's." He ran a hand through his hair. "Jesus, Luna. I'm not asking anything from you," she said quickly. "I just thought you had a right to know. What you do with it is up to you." Julian didn't say anything for a long time. Then, "I want to meet him." Back at home, Luna wasn't sure if she was making the right decision anymore. She didn't know how to explain this to Hayes. Or if she even should yet. All she knew was that the truth was out, and nothing would ever be the same again. Hayes is cornered by Luna, and Nick Marone reappears. It depicts Hayes Forrester Finnegan being cornered by Luna Nozawa. In the meantime, Brooke Logan is taken by surprise by Nick Marone. Let's discuss the upcoming events in the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. Nick Marone is back. Brooke receives a blast from the past at the start of the teaser segment. When Nick appears, Brooke is completely taken by surprise. The blonde's eyes widen in shock as her jaw falls to the ground. Nick smiles broadly and remarks, "Some things never change," once Brooke has recovered from her astonishment. Fumes from Ridge Forrester. Ridge Forrester opens up to Taylor Hayes in the following scenario. Ridge acknowledges that he simply doesn't like the man and never will when seated in an office at Forrester Creations. Ridge seems to be implying that Nick is involved. Do we perceive a growing sense of jealousy? What will Taylor do about that? The rescue mission of Liam Spencer. According to teasers on The Bold and the Beautiful, the preview film also depicts Steffi Forrester Finnegan confiding in Taylor. The brunette informs her mother that Liam is just concerned with keeping them safe and isn't even considering himself. Taylor, with a troubled expression, inquires as to whether Liam is attempting to protect them from Luna. It appears like Liam could take a risk before he passes away because he has an incurable brain tumor and is refusing treatment. Will Liam be the one to save Steffi, Hayes, and the others from a lunatic who is insane and delusional? Targeted, Hayes Finnegan. The final scene in the preview clip is the most shocking. Hayes appears to be playing in his backyard. Luna arrives and moves cautiously toward the young child. In an attempt to build trust, Luna smiles and mentions Hayes' name softly even if he appears nervous. Luna then explains that she has a gift for the child. Fans remember Luna ranting about Steffi to Remy Price. Luna continues by saying that she wishes Steffi understood the anguish of a parent and kid being split up. Hayes may be abducted by Luna, but what will she demand? Will Luna insist that Steffi give her permission to date John Finnegan? Luna Nozawa set her sights on Hayes Forrester Finnegan, the innocent little boy playing peacefully in his backyard. It was a tranquil setting, lush hedges trimmed to perfection, flowers in bloom, the faint gurgle of a decorative fountain bubbling in the background, but nothing about Luna's expression echoed serenity. She stood just outside the wrought iron gate, watching Hayes with an intensity that belied her soft smile. Her heart pounded beneath her ribcage as she whispered his name, almost reverently, the syllables tinged with longing and pain. Hayes looked up, his small brows furrowing, unsure whether to feel safe or scared. Luna's voice grew softer, sweeter, calculated, as she said she had something for him, her words laced with honey, but behind her eyes, a storm raged. Luna had been spiraling for weeks, her emotions fueled by unresolved trauma and a yearning to be acknowledged, not just as Finn's half-sister, but as someone who deserved a place in the family. The resentment had taken root deep within her, especially after her emotionally charged conversation with Remy Price, where she confessed the agony of growing up estranged from her biological family. She had imagined what it might have been like to be raised by Lee and Jack Finnegan, to share birthday cakes with Finn, to be held during thunderstorms instead of left to comfort herself in silence. That sense of loss mutated into bitterness towards Steffi, who she now saw not only as the obstacle to her connection with Finn but as the symbol of everything she had been denied. As Hayes stepped toward her hesitantly, Luna's fingers curled around something hidden in her coat pocket, a small, intricately carved wooden horse, an innocent trinket that belied the larger, dangerous plan forming in her mind. She didn't see herself as a villain, she was merely righting a wrong. If Steffi truly loved her child, she'd understand what it meant to feel that primal urge to be near someone you love. Across town, unaware of the looming threat to her child, Steffi Forrester Finnegan sat with Taylor Hayes in her sleek, minimalist living room, her usually confident demeanor replaced by a vulnerable edge. She recounted her growing concerns about Liam Spencer's erratic behavior. Despite his diagnosis, a cruel, inoperable brain tumor, Liam had refused to let it define his final days. Instead, he had thrown himself into what he saw as a mission to protect Steffi and the children. "He's not even thinking about himself, Mom," Steffi said, her voice cracking slightly. "He just wants to keep us safe, from Luna." Taylor's eyes narrowed, her motherly instincts sharpening. "You think Luna would actually hurt you? Or Hayes?" The pause that followed was telling. "I don't know," Steffi finally admitted, her voice low. "But she's not the Luna we used to know." Taylor reached out and clasped Steffi's hands tightly, a silent promise of support. Meanwhile, in a dramatically different setting, Brooke Logan was experiencing a shockwave of her own. In a scene that had fans buzzing the moment the preview dropped, Brooke's world tilted on its axis when none other than Nick Marone walked through the door of her home. The air shifted as his boots hit the hardwood floor, bringing with them the scent of ocean breeze and cologne, unmistakably Nick. Brooke's reaction was immediate, her eyes widened in disbelief, her mouth parted in stunned silence. It was as if time folded in on itself, dragging her back to a different era, a different version of herself. Nick's grin was vintage Marone, cocky, charming, just a hint of danger, and when he said, "Some things never change," the line sent shivers down her spine. Brooke laughed breathlessly, caught between the rush of nostalgia and the pang of present-day consequences. The tension in the room was palpable, a simmering mix of attraction and old wounds. But just as their reunion was thawing into something warm, Ridge Forrester sat at Forrester Creations stewing in the heat of his own fury. Confiding in Taylor during a rare quiet moment, Ridge made no effort to conceal his feelings. "I just don't like the guy," Ridge muttered, his jaw clenched. "Never have. Never will." Taylor raised an eyebrow, half amused, half concerned. "Jealousy, Ridge? That's not like you." Ridge glared at her. "It's not jealousy. It's history." But Taylor knew better. Ridge had always been possessive when it came to Brooke, even when they were at odds. Nick's return threatened not just the fragile peace Ridge had come to depend on, but the memory of a time when Brooke had chosen someone else, someone dangerous, someone exciting. Ridge wasn't just worried about Brooke's heart, he was worried about what it said about their entire tangled web of relationships. As the emotional dominoes fell across Los Angeles, Liam Spencer embarked on what he saw as his final mission. Despite his deteriorating condition, he'd begun connecting dots no one else dared look at. He suspected Luna's fragile psyche was on the verge of collapse, and that her growing obsession with Hayes wasn't just about family, it was about power, revenge, and validation. Liam's plan was daring, bordering on reckless. He had nothing to lose but everything to save. As he tracked Luna's movements, he began assembling clues, speaking to Remy, consulting with Lee, even confronting Finn, who remained conflicted, torn between loyalty to his sister and love for his wife and child. As Liam closed in on Luna's hiding place, the danger escalated. Hayes was still in the backyard, Luna now crouched beside him, offering the toy and softly coaxing him to follow her. The child hesitated, his instincts warring with her gentle tone. But before anything could happen, Liam emerged from the shadows like a silent guardian angel, his eyes blazing with righteous fury. "Luna," he said firmly. "Step away from the boy." Luna froze, her expression flickering from calm to panicked. "I'm not going to hurt him. I just want him to know me. I'm family." "This isn't the way," Liam insisted, stepping between them. "You think you're healing old wounds, but all you're doing is creating new ones." Hayes, sensing the shift, clutched Liam's hand tightly. In that moment, Luna seemed to unravel. Tears welled in her eyes as she looked at Hayes one last time, then turned and fled through the trees, disappearing like a ghost in the sunlight. Later that evening, news of the attempted abduction rocked the Forrester household. Steffi held Hayes close, silently thanking Liam, while Finn confronted the crushing weight of his family's chaos. "I should have seen this coming," he whispered to Steffi. "She's my sister. I should have protected you." Steffi, ever resilient, shook her head. "You protected me by choosing us. That's all that matters now." Across town, Brooke and Nick shared a quiet glass of wine on her terrace. "Funny, isn't it?" Nick mused. "No matter how far we run, we always circle back." Brooke smiled, gazing at the skyline. "Maybe some things really don't change." But as the night deepened, and the city lights flickered like distant stars, it was clear that change was coming, faster and more ferociously than anyone could imagine. With Luna on the run, Liam's health declining, Ridge's jealousy boiling, and Nick's reappearance throwing emotional grenades into old relationships, the world of the bold and the beautiful stood on the edge of a new era, one defined by fractured loyalties, unexpected heroes, and the enduring power of love and revenge. Taylor's heartbreaking realization that Hayes is in danger is Katie's shocking news. While Taylor Hayes reaches a depressing discovery about Ridge Forrester, Katie Logan will receive some shocking news. Here's what BNB viewers may anticipate, as Hayes Finnegan will also end up in peril. Hayes will first be taken to the beach home by Steffi Forrester, where Luna Nozawa will observe from a distance. Later, when Luna sees that Hayes is by himself, she will use it as an opportunity to approach him and give him an unexpected gift. Soon enough, Luna will draw Hayes nearer and likely lay the groundwork for the next part of her abduction scheme. Brooke Logan will be shocked by Nick Marone's return to Los Angeles in the meantime, particularly when he tries to win her over with a kiss. Brooke will provide Katie with updates later, so she may analyze Nick's kiss and decide who would be the best fit for her sister. Will Katie push Brooke back toward Nick, or will she continue to feel that she belongs with Ridge? When Ridge learns that Nick has returned and that he is once more in Brooke's sphere of influence, he will complain. In the end, Taylor and Ridge will have a sincere talk that is likely to get challenging. According to BNB spoilers, Taylor will come to a difficult discovery about Ridge's continued affections for Brooke and the fact that they still have a problem. Although Taylor may wish that they can solve the issue, that optimism will soon be dashed in the upcoming episodes. Ridge and Nick could expect to become tense conversation subjects when Brooke and Taylor will eventually collide. When it comes to Brooke, Ridge will confront Nick and display his protective nature. Nick won't care that Ridge doesn't want his half-brother around and will make it obvious that Ridge no longer has any influence over Brooke's romantic destiny. Hope Logan will protest since she would like not to have any competition from Carter Walton when Steffi contacts Daphne Rose and tries to get her back in Los Angeles. Katie's stunning news, Taylor's sad realization, Hayes in danger. The waves crashed gently outside the beach house as Steffi Forrester wrapped Hayes Finnegan's light jacket tighter around his small shoulders, shielding him from the cool ocean breeze. Her eyes flickered with the faintest sign of unease, mother's intuition stirring, but she dismissed it for now. She needed the retreat, time to think, time to breathe, away from the ever-spiraling dramas of Forrester creations and the tangled web of the Logan Forrester dynamic. But unbeknownst to her, danger was looming closer than the tide rolling in, hidden in the figure watching from afar, Luna Nozawa. Perched behind the veil of coastal shrubbery, Luna's gaze was locked on Hayes. There was a flicker of hesitation in her eyes, perhaps guilt, perhaps resolve, but she steadied herself, her lips curling into a calm, eerie smile. The time had come. She'd bide her moment. And when Steffi stepped inside for a phone call, Luna moved with practiced ease. As if summoned by fate, she approached Hayes, who was now sitting quietly in the sand, drawing a crooked sun with a twig. "Hi, Hayes," she whispered, crouching down and pulling a small, wrapped box from her satchel. "I brought you something special." He looked up, innocent eyes wide, unafraid. The box gleamed under the sunlight, a glittering lure. With gentle coaxing, Luna guided him closer, the present a decoy for something far more dangerous, a plan about to unfold. Meanwhile, back in the heart of Los Angeles, a different kind of storm was brewing. At Brooke Logan's estate, the tension in the air was almost tangible, made all the more surreal by the sudden and unexpected return of Nick Marone. Tall, rugged, and as confident as ever, Nick made his entrance with an audacity that stunned Brooke, his smoldering eyes not hiding his intentions for a second. The moment they reunited, it was as if time had folded in on itself, transporting them back to a time of passion, heartbreak, and unresolved desires. Before Brooke could process it all, Nick leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't just a kiss, it was a declaration, a challenge, a catalyst. Brooke reeled from the moment, breathless, caught between nostalgia and the uneasy pulse of a new possibility. Later, when she told Katie about what had transpired, Katie was floored. Her eyebrows shot up, her lips parted in astonishment as she tried to gauge what it all meant for Brooke's future. "Nick kissed you? Nick? Just out of the blue?" Brooke nodded, and Katie leaned back, absorbing the shock. For years, Katie had believed, like so many others, that Brooke and Ridge were inevitable. But now, with Nick back in the picture, all bets were off. Katie weighed the pros and cons aloud, pondering whether her sister should give Ridge yet another chance, or whether Nick, wild card though he was, might actually be the right path forward.